It was probably December 25th, maybe the 24th, 1985, and I was but a young lad. It was Christmas Eve, and of course, like many young boys at the time, I was looking forward to Santa bringing me all sorts of goodies that I had asked him for. I'd done all of the proper things. I had visited him at the mall. I had made my confession, told him that I had been nice and not naughty. I sufficiently pleased him enough to give me the candy cane at the end of the transaction, which meant that I was going to get all of my presents that I had asked for. And so the night came. And I tell you what, to a kid, that night seems like 1,000 years. It doesn't seem like that morning is ever going to come. And so like most kids, my parents told me, you have to get into bed or Santa won't come. And so I gladly climbed into my bed and waited until the proper time. Now, I don't know how notorious other kids are, but I could not wait to the proper time. So I got up at 3 in the morning and went downstairs. And I didn't want to wake my parents or my brother or anything like that up. And there they were, all the presents underneath the tree, just like I had hoped that I would see the night before. So I looked at them and I thought, well, nobody's up. So I went over and I shook one, and I was pretty certain that those were socks. Went over and shook another, and I'm pretty sure that those were T-shirts. I was starting to get a little upset at that point because I thought, where are the toys? And I shook another one and I thought, this is the toy. This is one of them. And then I noticed one of the pieces of tape was loose on the present. And so I just moved that little piece of tape just to see what the present was. And I looked inside, and there I saw the little symbol. I knew it was the transformer that I had asked Santa for 3 weeks before. And I opened it up just a little bit more to see which transformer it was. And in fact, it was the Starscream that I had asked for. I was so excited, I put the tape back and I thought, I need to go upstairs and wait so I can wake up my parents, because it's way too early. So at about 3:30, I went back upstairs to my room and I laid there until about 3:45, in which I got my parents up. I waited a whole 15 minutes. That was colossal back then. And I said, it's time to get up and do the presents. And so my parents and I went downstairs. I lived upstairs with them, and we had a kind of a bi-level house. We went down, and behold the tree with no presents underneath it. Now, I had just been there a few minutes before, and I knew that there were presents, and I knew there was a transformer waiting for me, and I didn't know what was going on, and my parents didn't know what was going on. And all that was there was a note from Santa saying that he had seen me peek into the gift that I was supposed to get. And because I was naughty, he took all of the presents back. Have you ever seen a 7-year-old freak out? Because that's exactly what I did. My parents didn't know what was going on either. And my brother Mark came in after about 3 minutes, and he was just laughing because he was the one that had written the note, and he went around to the room and began to pull things off of the shelf that he had hidden, and he brought Christmas back. Suffice it to say, we haven't seen my brother Mark since about December 25th, 1985. Actually, he's a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, my brother Mark, but I still will get revenge for that, and perhaps when I post this on the internet in 2 days, that will be my revenge, as I tell the entire world what he did to me as a 7-year-old. I'll get you, Mark. Anyway, that peeking into the gift was prohibited for me that night in Christmas. But you see, Advent is a time of preview. It is a time in which we are supposed to open the gift just enough to see that symbol, just enough to see that grace and that light of the gift that is to come, and the gift that we really already possess. See, the only difference between what will come and what we have now is that it's wrapped up. The only difference is that we can't see fully the great gift and grace that we have. And yet this season of Advent is a time in which we are to open that little piece of loose tape, and that we are to peer into the gift and the grace and the glory that is to come in Jesus Christ. See, for these first 2 weeks of Advent, we really don't talk about the nativity of Jesus Christ, but we talk about his second coming. But it is the nativity of Christ. It is his coming in our midst in the sacraments, especially the Eucharist, that gives us a little peek into the great gift and the glory and the grace that awaits for us in the glorious second coming of Christ himself. See, we know we already possess him. We have seen him on the tree. And we know that when that gift is unwrapped and revealed, it will be better than we ever hoped for. And all of us who are Christians in this Advent season should have the same excitement that a child does on Christmas Eve. You see, this is what St. Peter is addressing in his letter today, is it seems like there's a delay. It seems like Christ is not coming yet. And yet he is there on the tree. He is waiting for us, and he is revealing himself to us day by day until that glorious coming in all of eternity. We see that is what we celebrate. That is why we celebrate the light progressively coming into the world, because it is a progressive revelation. It is a progressive revealing. It is a progressive preview of the glory that is to come. And you see, my dear friends, in this Christmas season, this Advent season, we are to be that preview of light and forgiveness and love in the world. In everything that we do, in everyone that we meet, they are to see that progressive coming of light of Jesus Christ in the world through us. Because in Advent we celebrate three comings of Christ. We celebrate his coming on that night in which he was born. We celebrate his coming every time we celebrate the sacraments, especially the Eucharist, as he is here with us in our midst. And we celebrate and look forward to that coming of Christ in glory. Now, my dear friends, here's the thing, is that in order to get those gifts, you have to go and see Santa Claus. You have to go to the mall and sit on his lap and tell him whether you've been naughty or nice. You have to tell him what you want and the graces that you look for at Christmas, the gifts that you look for under the tree. In this season of Advent, we are called, if we see that preview of Christ, to make straight the way of the Lord. Advent is a penitential season. It's a little less strenuous than Lent, but it is a time to review ourselves and to see if that pathway of our lives is completely clear and straight to the way of the Lord. If there's any obstacle, if there's anything holding us back, if there's any resentments or grudges, if there's any sin that we struggle with, if there's anything that we need to bring to the glory and the gift of God that we already possess, this is the time to do it. And so I invite every single person here, whether it has been 2 weeks or 20 years, to consider making a holy confession. Our penance service is next Sunday night, and I know that we have a lot of really very nice priests coming in. There's nothing that we haven't heard. And more importantly, there is nothing that Jesus Christ cannot forgive. And if you want a preview, a real preview and a peek inside of the glory that awaits us underneath all of the wrappings of this world, enjoy the sacrament of confession. Because I guarantee that when you make a good confession, whether it has been 20 years or 2 weeks, you will come out of the confessional feeling like you are walking this high off of the ground. Because you will be lightened and freed from the burden of sin. And it will be that same relief that I experienced when the gifts came out from hiding. Because when we hold sins inside of ourselves, we hinder the path of the Lord. But when we take them and give them over to Christ himself, he returns the gift of himself. And he fills us with light and life and peace. So whatever has been weighing you down, whatever has been hindering you, wherever we need to make straight the way in the path of the Lord, this sacrament of reconciliation is the great gift that God has given us to do just that. But in addition to that, we do experience Christ. We do experience him in a veiled way. And we hope for the resurrection and the life and the glory of Christ, when all of the wrapping will be removed and we see that gift for what he is, and the great light and the peace that he gives to us in this life.